Aries, welcome to your weekly reading. Let's get started and see what messages we have for Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising positions for the week ahead. Now, keep in mind these are general readings and may not resonate for everyone, so make sure to check out your other placements because you could have messages there. And if you're interested in a personal reading, have a look at the description box below. I'm offering a special until the end of the summer, so it's a good time to get a reading if you've been wanting one. All right, let's get started here for Aries. What is the current energy around Aries for the week ahead? All right, Nine of Cups coming out, Aries. So this is a really nice message of sort of being satisfied with something, being satisfied with a certain outcome, feeling emotionally fulfilled as the result of sort of, I always think about the card that comes before this one, which is walking away from things that don't serve us in the Eight of Cups. And so it's almost like you've achieved something by walking away from something that didn't serve you. And it's leaving you feeling very satisfied. So let's see if there's an obstacle here for Aries. What would that obstacle be? What is the challenge that Aries may be facing now that they're feeling kind of satisfied? Interesting. Relationship. So that makes me feel like what you had to walk away from maybe had to do with a relationship, and you may have felt disconnected from a certain relationship or certain relationships in your circle where that may have caused an obstacle for you, but I feel like you've overcome that obstacle. When I see that Nine of Cups, sorry, just wiggled the camera a bit here. There may have been some sort of stuck energy here. When I see the Chariot in reverse, I feel like you've overcome that. But it's interesting. It almost feels like in order to sort of reach this place of feeling sort of fulfilled and satisfied emotionally, and that almost like a wish came true for you, I feel like you had to walk away from certain relationships, and that those relationships may be causing challenges in the current energy for you to maintain this fulfillment. So it almost feels like there may be a lack of acceptance on the part of the other people involved in this situation, and that might be creating some obstacles for you to maintain this satisfaction and fulfillment, this content feeling that you have. So it almost feels like maybe the other individuals involved in these relationships might be struggling to accept or move on past what has occurred here. Very interesting. Let's see what's top of mind for Aries. Okay, we're seeing the Devil and Death. Isn't that interesting? So it's like you're really aware of where transformation needs to take place, but you might be in the grips of trying to sort of sort through it. So it's interesting. It feels like the thing blocking your satisfaction or happiness is some relationships that need to be released. And perhaps the letting go process is still in process. Now that I'm looking at these cards, it kind of makes me feel like there's this need to really look at things from a non-judgmental, non-critical perspective so that you can really see the truth in this, the truth in the transformation that needs to take place. Feels like it has to do with relationships. Feels like there's an emotional situation in these relationships that's causing an obstacle in sort of transforming and releasing. That Three of Cups in reverse can be the need to sort of release things that lead to a lot of miscommunications. There may be a need to make amends here. Someone may need to make amends with you. But it feels like these relationships ultimately are blocking your happiness, or the level of miscommunications here is blocking your happiness. But right now, it feels like these relationships are actually a very great teacher for you in that they're showing you where there is a clinging, like where you may be clinging to these relationships or where these relationships may be clinging to you, and that there might be some fear of change or a sentimental attachment here. There could be still the feeling of letting go is in process. So it's very interesting. When we started this reading, I sort of felt like you had already disconnected, but I feel like you're in the for some of you, you're still in the process of disconnecting, and it's proving to be a bit challenging to let go. Seeing the devil there tells me that something has a grip on you, and it could be the attachment you have to these relationships, and that you're really needing to sort of dive into your shadow self to see how these sort of moments of clinging to things could be holding you back and could keep you trapped in dynamics that don't feel like they're really serving your highest good. So, wow, a lot of information in the first 5 minutes here of your reading, Aries. Feels like it's in progress for some of you. For others of you, I feel like you're just working on the actual letting go, but that you've realized that you need to let go, and you've sort of seen things for how they are, but you're still working on releasing them. Very interesting. Let's see what's driving this reading for Aries. The Ten of Cups, and it's in reverse. Kind of came out sideways. Let's leave it sideways. So the Ten of Cups, when it's kind of in this ambiguous position, makes me feel like you're so close to achieving something, but it's coming at the cost of something else. Isn't that the way it is sometimes? That, you know, in order for us to really step into our highest good, sometimes we have to be willing to let go of things that aren't in our highest good, but we may still have an emotional attachment to those things. So it's very interesting. It feels like you're taking some big steps here for yourself, but that there may be some relationships that are just no longer a part of that higher self. And that's okay. You know, I feel like they may have been instrumental in getting you to the place where you realized what is for your highest good and what is not. So there is value here in this experience. Every experience is teaching us something about ourselves. And it feels like this experience is teaching you what relationships serve you and which relationships may not serve you. And, you know, it's interesting because I feel like there is such a strong attachment, and that's really what you're working on releasing now. Let's see what the past energy was, past influences. 10 of Pentacles. So interesting. So many tens here. We've got, and just the idea of these high numbers makes me feel like you're so close to achieving something. And in the past, your definition of what was a stable, solid relationship may have changed to what it is now. Seeing the Ten of Pentacles in the past energy that's influencing the current energy really makes me feel like in the past your sort of definition of community and you know, stability may have changed from what it is today. So you may have experienced some kind of, you know, it almost feels like you in the past you experienced a version of stability that has transformed from what you feel is right for you today. And so it may be these relationships that you're working on releasing, the ones that were very stable in the past. Isn't that intriguing? This idea that something from the past could have been very stable because you were a different version of yourself, but today's version of you recognizes that these relationships don't serve you. Seeing the world in reverse, which sort of confirms this idea that something needs to be brought into closure, but feeling challenged to do that, feeling challenged to close the loop on these relationships, and these sort of almost this version of yourself entirely is sort of coming to a close. You've changed, Aries. You've changed, and now your relationships are changing too. Very interesting. Let's see what the upcoming energy is for Aries. Eight of Swords in reverse. Yeah, so the sort of feeling of needing to accept the ending of these relationships continues into the future, where it's important for you to sort of acknowledge that there's an opportunity here for you to let go of something that's an old story. And it's interesting. I feel like there's a part of you that's really feeling that fear of missing out, and almost that you're sort of feeling upcoming anyway, a challenge when it comes to just accepting the release here and not being afraid of the consequences of that release. It's almost like there's a part of you in the upcoming energy that feels a little bit like that you feel almost rejected, or that you've been a victim of whatever you're trying to release here, when actually I feel like it will be an empowering move for you. But it's interesting. I feel like there will be a period where you will maybe doubt the decision to move away from these relationships, or that, it'll feel almost like you've become so comfortable feeling a little helpless, to be honest here, Aries, when it comes to these specific relationships. The power dynamic may have been one that now, as you separate from them, you're starting to feel the fear of loss, or the fear of consequence, or the fear that, well, once I really let go of this, it's really over, and I don't know if I can really do that yet. I feel like you're in the grips of this still, which is why we're seeing the devil here. And so moving forward this week, you still might feel a little bit of that hesitation, right, to fully release and surrender these connections. It's interesting because we are as humans really sentimental sometimes and nostalgic. And although we're not seeing that specific card show up here, I think that's what's keeping you sort of hanging on to this, is just that human quality of wanting things to last, and making sort of this connection that says when things don't last, it's a failure. And that's not necessarily true, Aries. I think everything is teaching us something, and so nothing is really a failure because it's teaching you something. And by judging it in that way, you're creating the energy of that victim mentality, or the failure, identifying as something that failed. You know what I mean? And so it really does depend on how you want to frame this for yourself. And I think that'll affect the emotional quality of this. So let's see how Aries feels about themselves. How does Aries see themselves right now? Yeah, 5 of Swords. You're struggling with this, this sense of not seeing eye to eye with someone anymore that you used to. That communication has become difficult, and there's lots of misunderstandings, miscommunications, disagreements, not seeing eye to eye. You just, you've changed, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with changing. There's nothing wrong with staying the same either, but it just means that sometimes you don't feel as connected to the same folks anymore. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with these folks. It just means that there's new folks for you to meet, Aries, and that's okay, and that 5 of Swords makes me feel like there's no getting around this. You don't see eye to eye anymore. Communication has become strained and difficult. You may feel drained after you have a conversation with these folks, or you spend time with them. You just feel drained and depleted, and that's not serving you. So it's interesting. I think you just have to focus on where you feel like you thrive in relationships, and to not overly focus on, what that must mean. It just means that you've changed, and that your connection with certain people has also changed. And that, I think that just happens as we evolve and grow. We meet new people that are like-minded, and that we have a better connection with. Let's see how other people are seeing Aries right now. Well, that fell on the floor. Ace of Swords. So other people are sort of seeing you as having a different perspective on things, and that you have sort of seen things from a different perspective, and it's changed your perception, right? You have new ideas about things. You've sort of gone through this awareness that's heightened your consciousness, and it's changed you. And I think people in your life recognize that, and they may say to you, "You've changed." And I hope that you nod and say, "Yeah, I have actually. I've realized some new things about myself and my experience, and it has changed me. I have a different perception on things. My outlook has changed. My mindset has changed. My sense of self has changed, and I'm communicating differently than I used to, and I'm having more moments of clarity, and I'm using that clarity to enhance my discernment when it comes to relationships." And it really feels like that's what's going on here for you. Let's see what the hopes and fears are around this for Aries. 10 of Swords, another 10. Your hope is that, you will move on from things, but I think your fear is the endings themselves, is actually coming to ending with certain relationships. And I think, it's interesting, it's necessary and it serves you, but there's a part of you that's like, but that relationship has been with me for so long. Here it is in the past, right? And seeing the 10 of Swords says to me that your hopes and fears are sort of around endings being very painful, and that there will be sort of this inevitable crisis that occurs when these endings take place, and that there'll be difficult conversations that you're going to have, and you may feel a lot of anxiety around that. And that may be why we're seeing here this 8 of Swords, because you're sort of thinking to yourself, well, how am I going to explain this ending? What am I going to say, and how am I going to say it? And it's going to be really painful. But I think a part of you is like, but, I'm on to other things now, so this is necessary. Let's see what the potential outcome here is for Aries. Potential outcome is strength. Isn't that a wonderful outcome? And, seeing the Strength card here is one that really feels like you're in touch with your inner strength and your inner self, and ultimately there isn't an obstacle you can't overcome. And I feel like you're going to feel so connected to yourself once you sort of release these relationships and you do what feels right for you. And you're not sort of backing down because you're like, well, I can't do this, so I'll just whatever. I'll still see these people occasionally, but I'll just, maybe pretend to be something I'm not. I feel like you're not going to do something like that. I feel like you're going to reject the idea of sort of wearing a mask, and you're going to go the route of your confidence, your inner strength. And it almost feels like you're choosing yourself here when I see the Strength card as the outcome. The bottom of the deck is the Moon card in reverse. So I feel like there is a lot of unknown here. All you know for sure, I think, is that things have changed and you don't resonate with the same people that you used to. And certain relationships don't make you feel like you're in your highest good or your highest self, the highest expression of yourself. And it feels like at one point these relationships did stabilize and you identified with these relationships, but now they're actually blocking your sense of fulfillment and satisfaction. It almost feels like they drain you. They drain you of that thing that is new in you, this transformative energy that has awakened you. It feels like you feel drained, and that you end up matching the energy in these relationships that is the energy that you have changed from. You know that feeling where you hang out with people that you don't really connect with anymore, and you end up sort of, like I was saying when I was talking about the Strength card, you almost just end up matching their energy to make the evening pass. And then you might come home and be like, what was that? That's not who I am anymore. And you might end up feeling really critical about it, in that 8 of Swords. So Stay true to yourself, Aries. Stay true to who you've become recently, where you've experienced this transformation, this awakening, this realization or awareness about yourself, and it's changed you, right? Stay true to that is the guidance here. Now speaking of guidance, let's close your reading. It's funny, as I parted the deck, I saw surrender unhealthy relationships. Let's see, what does Aries need to surrender or surrender to in order to sort of feel like they are connecting to their higher self here? Yeah, it came out anyway. There it is. Surrender unhealthy relationships. It says let go of relationships that don't serve you, including unavailable ones or ones that feel toxic. You deserve to be treasured by others and surrounded by people that make you feel positive and like you're confirmed in yourself. Your body will know. Surrender to the wisdom of your body. Listen to the messages from your body about a person or a situation. If you feel physically drained or uncomfortable, be cautious. If you are energized and happy, move forward. So interesting. I feel like we said that while we were discussing the cards in your reading. So really feeling confirmed here that these relationships just don't serve you anymore. Seeing here surrender to joy. A key to a positive change in your life is to let joy in and savor it. Indulge in random acts of smiling during both the hard and easy times. Keep surrendering to more joy. So the idea of surrendering to joy, I think, means you might have to surrender some relationships that sort of leave you feeling drained. And trust and listen to your body, because you'll know when it's not a good fit. I'm going to leave it at that for you, Aries. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading. I hope it's been helpful, and I'm sending you so much love and encouragement. Take care, my friends.